daily time with you. Now, did you know that actually you and I can be ambassadors of peace? That's right. You and I can bring into our world the very thought that you can have absence of personal conflict and warfare in your life. And actually, that comes from a decision not to allow yourself to be pulled into the conflict and warfare that often is part of everyday life. There are people out there who we would call natural agitators, individuals who thrive on confusion and chaos. Sometimes they're wrapped up in politicians. Sometimes they're wrapped up in employers or people who are employed with you. And so, what is very, very important is not allowing these people to pull you away. Now, of course, one of the ways that you can do that is, of course, to center your life on something powerful, greater than yourself. And of course, if you are a follower of me, you know that I anchor my life on the Lord. And so I love this one scripture where Paul says this in Ephesians 6:15. He says, "Stand firm." He says, "with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace." What Paul is basically saying is look at yourself as an ambassador of peace. Understand that peace means calmness. It means serene. It means basically walking through life with a positive, but also as well unshakable faith in what God is doing in your life. I love this one illustration that is often given, and that's simply this. It is actually from a movie from the 1970s called Billy Jack. And Billy Jack was basically struggling. He was struggling with his temper. He was struggling with his sense of reconciliation and justice. So many times we're struggling with that because we're asking ourselves this question: should I react? Should I get involved in this particular situation? And in that movie, he finally comes to a sense of peace when he decides, you know what? I'm not going to allow anything to pull me away from my values and my principles. And of course, values and principles are absolutely essential. I was reading this morning, for example, that our principles and our values actually they are the very thing that we project in the world. And also as well, we cannot allow them to be violated by other people. For example, if you say that you're going to do something, you need to do it. People gotta be able to trust somebody today. We see, for example, in the political realm these days, where a politician will say one thing and then backtrack on that particular situation. We see that happening right now in the United States and to a certain point in governments around the world. And so it's important to walk with integrity. It's important to stay, on your principles and your morality. And people need to find someone who actually backs up what they say. I referenced a while ago in one of my broadcasts about a movie that I saw recently. It was actually starring Liam Neeson, and it was talking about a guy named Rob Roy. Rob Roy, of course, was a Scottish Highlander, and his word was his bond. And it was literally, the movie was all about keeping your word. It's integrity. Integrity, of course, is keeping your morality, your principles, and the truth that you stand by in private when nobody else is around, being true to yourself. Now, you and I, of course, have this wonderful opportunity to bring peace into our world. It was Thomas Jefferson who basically said this: evil will prevail when good men do nothing. So we don't want to have this continuous evil prevailing. But I want to tell you something. It will put a target on your back. As soon as you start standing up, as soon as you start walking with integrity and making a decision that in your world you're going to stand, you're going to be a person of principle, then what's going to happen is those who have no principles, those who walk in narcissistic type of ideas, bullies, they are going to try to intimidate you. They're going to try to manipulate you. They're going to try to, favor you and make you feel like, okay, I can get along with you. Understand this. Sometimes you need to stand up for truth. Jesus was an individual who did that. And remember, they crucified him. And so you're probably going to be crucified in the social arena and also as well in different areas. But stand strong. Why? Because in the final analysis, you will come out on top. Nelson Mandela, for example, spent 25 years in prison for his principles. And yet, when everything shook out, he became the leader of South Africa and led it into a new reality. There are consequences for standing up for truth. But that's why Paul said, stand firm with your feet ready, with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. It basically means that when you have inner peace, when you are walking in the peace of God, nothing will pull you away and nothing will intimidate you. You will stand strong. And by standing firm against the evil of the day, and I want you to remember this, the evil of the day is actually more afraid of you than you should ever be of the evil of the day. That's just something that we need to recognize. So, what's my exhortation? My exhortation is simply this: be a person of integrity. Be a person of morality. Be a person of principles, because we need that today. There are so many unprincipled individuals running around today. Someone said, how do you know a politician is lying? Well, his mouth is moving. I actually have lived in a country that our previous prime minister was probably the biggest liar that was ever out and about. He would be lecturing people on, of course, morality and on principles when he didn't demonstrate any of those. And unfortunately, it looks like the current leader of the United States is of that same vein. And I would hate to think that we are electing people that are actually, reflecting our society. But the reality is, it is. So my exhortation for you today is at least you be a person of principles, a person of morality, a person of peace, a person of love and grace, and an individual whose word is their bond. When you make a promise, you keep it. David, who is another principal person in the Bible, basically said, you keep your word no matter what the cost. You know why? Because people need to see that. There are so few people doing that today. I was thinking about Harvard University, who, stood up to the president of the United States. He said, I want you to follow my agenda. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. Now, for them, that's going to mean a $2.3 billion reduction in their budget. So there are consequences. There are prices to pay when we stand up for righteousness, for our principles. But the question is, are you prepared to pay the price? If you're not, don't be a person of principles. Don't be a person who stands up for integrity. But if you are a person of principles and integrity, stand up, even if no one else is doing it. That's my exhortation for you today. Well, if you like what I'm hearing or what you're hearing and I'm saying, you can press the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My name is Robert Dean Steele. You have yourself a great and godly day.